And hello, hello, hello. Hold on. There we go. There we go. Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Glad to see everybody here. So I figured I would, and for the record, that effect on my camera is not intentional. I don't know why it's doing that. I wish. I wish that was an artificial effect, but it's not. Let me reboot stuff and see what happens. Hold on. Did you see Sky News promote Destiny? I did. I absolutely did. Well, I saw that it happened. I haven't watched it yet, but we can react to it on stream if you want. One second. Why? Nope. Stupid. 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 I don't know why it's doing that, guys. Tried rebooting it. That didn't work. What the... Every time. I make sure everything's set up the night before or the day before, and then every time I get on and it's fucked up. Give me 1 second. Alright, now that I've totally scuffed my intro. Incredible. Yes. Never underestimate my ability to fuck shit up. Based. What the fuck? There we go. That seems to be better. Alright, stop tweaking it, Moto. Fuck. Okay, well. Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Appreciate it. So I think what we're going to do is now a little bit of background here for me. Yeah, it turns out I think the cord on the back of my on the USB connector that goes in my computer, I think it's frayed. I think that's what was doing it. So yeah, I'm gonna have to buy a new fucking mic. or not mic, camera, which I might look up, see how much one is. Who knows? So a little bit of background. I very, very much like Hutch. I think that 99% of the shit he says is spot on. I've been watching him for a little while now. I like watching him on Live and Learn. He's probably like my go-to streamer, right? But there has been a little bit of a thing going on that I kind of want to react to this on stream, because Hutch has a thing. If you've never watched Hutch before, he has a framework that he likes to use called the Black Pill Left, right? And very broadly speaking, and if I ever do get the chance to talk to Hutch about it, I'll try to clarify a lot of these things with him. So if I'm mischaracterizing something, somebody in chat correct me or whatever. But to Hutch, the black pill left is basically like everything is basically fucked, or it's trash, or and it just needs to be torn down. Throw the baby out with the bathwater type of stuff. Think of people like Hassan, Mike from PA, Second Thought. Your commies, your tankies, these types of people, right? Well, here lately, after the Charlie Kirk assassination, right? There's been a pretty solid divide, at least in my mind, between somebody like Destiny and his position on how we ought to move forward, how we ought to message on this, and all those things, and Hutch, and his views on these. And this is probably the only spot where I kind of disagree with Hutch on, is kind of like where we're at politically and like socially, culturally, just as a country, where we're at, and where it's perceived that we're at, so to speak, or more so to say that where Hutch wants us to be, right? So he started to talk about black pill liberals, and based on the way that like he talks about the black pill left, I didn't get a chance to catch this on stream, but I caught it in my YouTube feed. Don't lose hope. Hutch fights against the black pill mentality in his chat after the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the following discourse. So I figured we'd watch this, we'd go over on stream and see what's up.
I feel like everybody, it's your responsibility right now to actively make sure that you don't take the black pill. Why? Look at it from Trump's perspective. Like, if you're Trump, right, and you're mulling over in your mind possible ways to, end democracy in America, wouldn't priority number one be to utterly demoralize your opposition?
Okay. So I don't really disagree with Hutch here very much, that MAGA's goal, I think, at the end of the day, is to demoralize you, right? But the point is to demoralize you into inaction, right? The demoralization in and of itself isn't the end goal. It's what they hope to gain by virtue of that demoralization, right? Like, they want you to be demoralized, yes, but they want you to be demoralized in such a way where you do not struggle or you do not fight back, right? They don't want to demoralize you in such a way where it puts you in the position of, well, I've got nothing else to lose, right? Because I think even MAGA would agree that, and hell, even some people on the left, right, or the black pill left, because this is pretty much very similar to their position, I think, where we've got nothing else to lose, right? So why not fight back, right? That I very much don't think that that's where MAGA wants us to be. They want us to hover somewhere with the demoralization, like the paralysis, right? That's the goal. It's not just the demoralization. It's like the power, the paralyzation, right? Not so erudite disagreed as well with Destiny and is clashing with them. Yeah, I know. I hope to be able to talk to Soy Pill about this a little bit too. I think I'm a bit too aggressive and unhinged to talk to Erudite. To be honest, she's way too patient, um, and I would look like an unhinged, like crazy person, like a literal psycho.
Literally, priority number one. That's like the starting point. You want to basically beat your opposition into submission. You know, a lot of people I saw were freaking the fuck out watching the Charlie Kirk.
Oh, by the way, just to be clear here, if you do happen to pop in here and you've never watched or subbed to Hutch, what are you doing? Subscribe to Hutch. He's the best. He's amazing. Um, I love you, Hutch. You're my boy.
Memorial that was televised. And a lot of that was very scary, I'm not gonna lie. Which is an odd thing to say about a fucking memorial for a person, which...
I've spoken with her a couple times, but not on this point. But we'll see if I do or not. Yeah, okay. Let me be clear, Kai. I would absolutely be open to having a conversation with Erudite about it. But I have a feeling that it would be like rehashing a lot of what Steven would probably say to her. And he could probably make that argument to her personally a little bit better than I can. And I don't imagine that this will be the last time that they publicly spar over this either. I could be wrong. Um, but not saying I wouldn't I would like turn down that opportunity. Just saying I don't know if I have anything to add to Erudite specifically that might move her on this position. So anyway, back to the video.
Turned into a political rally. Stephen Miller's speech was pretty alarming. I saw snippets of Donald Trump's speech. That was pretty alarming. The only thing I saw from Kirk's wife was the bit about forgiving her husband's murderer. And I didn't watch the rest of the speech. I heard the rest of the speech is a little fashy.
So I plan on going and watching like the whole thing at some point, but I'm kind of where Hutch is here. Like I've seen some of the I may have seen a little bit more of it than him, because I did watch Erica's whole speech, and like Miller and Trump's whole speeches. I didn't watch Vance's whole segment, but yeah, it was hella fashy. Oh God. Yeah, it was it was hella fashy. Hold on, where's the tweet? Where's the Trump turning point? Where is it? Where's the comparison with the Hitler Nazi rally one? Oh God. Yeah, right. Made some known conservatives raise eyebrows, especially the repost of Destiny images. Like, brother. Like, brother, what are we doing here? What? This is the White House. What are we doing here, guys? Are you okay? Are you okay?
So I wanted to give that a gander, But here's what I'll say, and I said it on the podcast last night. Okay, Trump's MO in terms of media has been sort of the same throughout his political career. He
Yeah, I would say that's probably true. I say probably because I don't know, like, watch every fucking thing he does, um, but yeah, this is definitely true. I think, and hell, we may do this at some point just to like kind of prove a point. But like, if you go back and you look at like some of the speeches that he gave, back in like 2016, you know, maybe the Second Amendment guys can do something about it. Like he's been doing like the same playbook from day one. The only thing that's different is, well, I would say this: two things are different. One is that he's a lot slower now, so he's able to get less of this stuff out, I think, as he talks, which kind of lets us focus in on some of the more cringe things that he's saying. No, cringe isn't even the right word. I don't even know if words fucking exist, for where we're at right now. But anyway, the second thing is having people around him that can sane wash the things he's saying, right? Like, what's her name? You know, with the talking point now with like his "I hate my enemies" thing at this very rally was like, it was a joke. It was a self-deprecating joke. Like, do you think there is a world in which Trump could defend himself this way or this well? Like, I don't think so. Look, if somebody were to come to Trump without Megyn Kelly and be like, hey, why did you say that thing? Do you think he'd give this justification in a million years? No. Because he wasn't joking. He absolutely wasn't joking. And we know that. Megyn Kelly knows that. Matt Walsh knows that. And he has never been joking. That's like, since 2016, what was the phrase? We take him seriously, but not literally. Yeah. This is like absolutely that. Well, at this rally.
He has adopted a philosophy, and those around him have adopted the same philosophy of projecting strength and popularity. And so you pack it. What was it? The Houston. Where was the memorial again? It was in some big sports stadium or something. They project that imagery because you got to put yourself in the shoes of MAGA, who for the last 2 to 3 months, you know, they kind of act like everything's all good. But if you're like a MAGA influencer, for the last few months, you've had kind of a tough time. Nobody likes the tariffs. It's just an objectively bad economic policy.
So, okay. I'm just going to go ahead and head off something here that me and that I disagree with on Hutch, or disagree with Hutch on a little bit most of the time. And that's this sense that when he goes and he talks about things being popular, things being unpopular, like broadly in America, and he might do the same thing here when he talks about tariffs, right? Like, you know, like Trump's approval rating being only like 38%, or tariffs being popular at like, you know, some low number, like, you know, 30s, 40s, whatever, right? One of the things that I don't think he's missing this. I think that this is him just not focusing on this because I don't know. But put it like this. Trump may only have a 30% approval rating, right? But that number among his base is like 95 plus percent, right? So like now I'm going to have to do some digging into numbers to see how these things kind of see how these things like line up, right? But like Trump won the popular vote, right? Among the people who voted, right? Among the people who voted, more than half of them supported Trump, right? And if internal polling among Trump voters shows 95, like upwards of 90 to 95% support on like the most unhinged shit he's doing. Like that necessarily translates to somewhere around half the country for none of this shit being a deal breaker for them. So like when he talks about Trump being incredibly unpopular, he is correct, but I don't think he's accounting for the fact of um, the echo chamber effect here. Oh shit! I didn't mean to do that.
Is not actually his handwriting. You have to contort yourself to defend that kind of economic policy imagery, because you got to put yourself in the shoes of MAGA, who for the last 2 to 3 months, they kind of act like everything's all good, but if you're like a MAGA influencer, for the last few months, you've had kind of a tough time. Nobody likes the tariffs. It's just an objectively bad economic.
What is? Let's look up some tariff polling here. Most recent polling on tariffs. It's 1R, you fucking retard. Okay, let's check Reuters. Polls shows 41% approval for Trump, down for 54% believe that the economy is on track, up from previous months. So here's the thing that people actually, you know what? Let's read it. Let's might get into it. Okay. Donald Trump's approval ticks slightly lower in recent weeks. All right, here we go. So, December 15th, 2024. Yeah, that was right after fucking January 6th. So, like, this idea that because his, like, overall popularity is dropping, I don't really like that one because, like, as you can see, like, even just Trump, Biden, Trump, if you go and you look at, presidential, like it's a roller coaster for presidents, right? Like the tendency is for a president's popularity to go down over the course of their presidency. I mean, presidential, because I mean I could be entirely wrong here. But the trend is that their approval rating goes over time, and typically is around the lowest at the time when they are like voted out. If we're talking about like versus the beginning, like from the beginning of an administration to the end of the administration. But like it seems like a president's approval rating is never higher than like right after they're elected. Presidential approval ratings. All right. All right, let's see what Gallup says. I don't want to... I need graphs. Give me graphs. Give me charts. Here we go. What is this? Pew Research Center. Let's see what Pew Research says. That's what gets me hard. Okay. So, what is this? So, like, so we see here, right, Kennedy, right, we see this, drop here. We see for Lyndon Johnson, we see the drop for Nixon. I mean, Ford, what was that? You think that had some shit to do with Vietnam? You think? Carter goes down, like Reagan goes down and then up when he's reelected and then back down again. Um, HW, right? Clinton kind of like bucks the trend here, I think. But again, like you could still, his approval ratings went up before he was reelected because of like his really strong success with the economy and all of these things. But like generally speaking, like I said, generally speaking, I think we can like whether it's from within the party or outside the party. There seems to be a general trend of presidents like generally losing, and I mean shit, this looks like a lot in their approval rating over the course of an administration where and it ends their approval rate. It just drops over time. That's just what happens. Um, so
Policy that nobody likes these blanket tariffs, and the Epstein stuff is just so difficult to rationalize, and so you got to go to a kind of like dark place psychically or psychologically to defend that kind of stuff, to try to find a way to steer the conversation away from the Trump administration giving favorable terms to a convicted child rapist with Ghislaine Maxwell.
I wholeheartedly agree with this sentiment. I think that it takes a particularly willful or egregious abandon of like basic principles, and I'm not even talking about just American principles. I'm talking about like just like being a good person principles to be able to defend some of, if not all of the shit that Trump is doing right now. I think I don't know. I don't want to say anything like too terribly spicy about it, but I think that if you're willing to defend Trump on like even like half of what he's doing right now, something has gone very, very wrong. Whether that's in your brain, whether that's in your soul, or whether that's in your media diet, I don't know. Probably varies from person to person. But something is disastrously wrong.
And then you have to find a way to rationalize Donald Trump saying that that letter that he wrote, which is so clearly in his handwriting, is not actually his handwriting. You have to contort yourself into a pretzel. And psychologically, on some level, that's going to be difficult. And so what happens? Charlie Kirk is murdered, and I think what we're seeing right now from the right is a very deeply cynical, kind of opportunistic, seizing the moment type moment.
I think for a lot of the more like regular people, the normies, I could kind of see this, like I could see this point, right? But one of the things that I've argued with people a shit ton actually is like the danger of underestimating our opponents and having a fundamental lack of imagination as to what they're capable of, right? So that's not to say that they're genius masterminds, right? That this was all some orchestrated game, and there isn't anything opportunistic. This is exactly where they want us, anything like that. But I would say that of the people driving this, right? People like Stephen Miller, people like Laura Loomer, people like Kash Patel. Well, I mean, actually, I don't even know if I would count Kash. He's probably, one of the useful idiot retards in this equation. But people like Roger Stone and Steve Bannon, these guys, hell, Charlie Kirk. These people were very, very much intentionally drove a lot of where we are, like potentially drove us to where we are now. So to say it's, I think it's a little bit more nuanced than to say, or it's a little more nuanced than, um, was it all a psyop versus, uh, is this just an opportunistic power play? Because I think it's probably both, in a lot of different ways or from different angles. Um, so
where I think they see the Kirk murder as a means for them to change the narrative. And so now the narrative that they're going with is like, this is the turning point from which the country will never turn back from. And I think they're
well, I don't I don't know if I entirely agree with Hutch here on this one. Mainly because this is the turning point. You know, this is where shit changes. Like they've been doing this shit, um, for like literal, like almost like literally a decade now, right? Like first it was the Clinton emails, right? This is the thing that's too far, right? And then it was going after the first Trump impeachment over the Ukraine Giuliani thing, right? This is too far. Like that. Just listen to this and see if you can, like, and take the Charlie Kirk thing out of it. Like imagine like Charlie Kirk is still with us, and ask yourself which of these events in like the MAGA myth could this apply to. Hold on.
trying to is the turning point from. And so now the narrative that they're going with is like, this is the turning point from which the country will never turn back from. Is like, this is the turning point from which the country will never turn back from.
Right? That was the stolen election. That was COVID. That was fucking BLM. That was like, they've been using this same line over and over and over again, right?
And I think they're trying to will it into existence.
I don't disagree with that. They are willing it into existence by repeating. If you repeat a lie long enough, and it eventually it becomes true, right? That's what this is. Like they've been using this over and over and over again because they've been lying and lying and lying until the day that they get to finally say it's true now, right?
They want Charlie Kirk to be this martyr that boosts Republican Party popularity with regular voters. It's pretty obvious what they're trying to do in this moment. Yeah, that's a fair point too. For many of them, it's an avenue to make a lot of money. That's another important part of this narrative as well, for this situation. And so when I saw that imagery of his wife on the stage in the filled stadium, and my first thought was like, like anytime you get a group of
Hold on. I never tweeted that I was live. I'm such a bad content creator. I can't promote myself for shit. Hold on. Oh, god damn it. Okie dokie. Sweet. Whole stream fucked up, didn't it? No, it's still there. Cool. I do want to see MAGA Psych, because there has to be research and learn. Right? We have to we have to study these people. We have to study these people. They took too much Tylenol. That's what it was. Whee! Okay. Why aren't you people liking the stream? There's 2 of you here, okay? I can see you. Okay. Alright. Now I gotta get back to this. Where were we?
Of violence to juice their numbers up. You know, my mind did go to the politics. Why? Because they're weak, not because they're school. Filled stadium is what they're trying to do in this moment. You know, yeah, that's a fair point too. For many of them, it's an avenue to make a lot of money. That's another important part of this narrative as well, or this situation. And so when I
Called out, yes. Thank you, Kai. Appreciate it. What's up, North? How you doing? Did we, like, to some degree, did we ever look into the psych pre-World War II days? I mean, maybe. Sure we did. Like, I'm pretty sure we know, like, why Weimar Germany was so fucked.
I saw that imagery of his wife on the stage in the filled stadium, and you know, my first thought was like, you know, like anytime you get a group of MAGA Republicans in one place like that, it just gives you the ick, you know. I mean, it's pretty packed auditorium. But I think the lesson to walk away from this.
Look at the sparklers. Look at the fucking sparklers. Jesus Christ. This is what I was expecting, okay? Hold on. This is what I was expecting halfway through. Give me a second. God damn it. What? I'm so fucking dumb.
His name is John C.
Jesus Christ.
Memorial, I think the lesson that you should take away from it is that they're trying to project this strength because they're weak, not because they're strong. The reality is that Donald Trump's approval numbers went down after Charlie Kirk was murdered. How do you fuck that up? Like, honestly, how do you fuck that up? How is it possible that one of the most...
That... I didn't... Did it drop noticeably? Drop, residential... Okay, from Newsweek, 6 days ago. Trump's approval ratings have swung wildly across major polls. Some surveys suggest a brief surge of support, while others show a dramatic erosion. Let's see. Radical left for his death. Same shit. What to know? Data from RMG Research shows Trump's approval rating ticking up slightly from +2 points on September 3rd to +4 points on the 17th. Atlas Intel also showed it going up. Other polls tell a different story. The latest AP Who are these people? Is that the Associated Press? Okay, they're affiliated with the AP. Okay. Conducted between the 11th and the 15th, showed that Trump's approval rating dropped to 21 points. Or dropped to 2. Okay. So 13. Hmm. I wonder what this RMG research is, because Rasmussen reports? No. That's what I wanted. Hmm. I don't like that fucking MySpace looking fucking page. Okay. Alright, so I'll give Hutch that one, yeah.
Prominent conservative voices, literally one of the biggest conservative voices in the entire world, was murdered. They have it on video in 4K. You can watch it in slow-mo if you want to. This guy who was...
Please don't. Please don't. It's fucking grisly. I've seen a lot of shit on the internet, okay? I was there when Faces of Death was a thing. I don't.
basically publicly martyred. They're trying to make him a martyr, right? How is it possible that one of the world's most prominent conservative voices was murdered in a particularly barbaric fashion, and Donald Trump's approval...
Oh no, he misspoke. He's been owned in the marketplace of ideas.
approval numbers...
Oh, yeah, North. It's... yeah. It's bad.
go down. How is that possible? I feel like, listen, I feel like we probably all had similar thoughts after the Trump attempted assassination and after Charlie Kirk was murdered. I'll bet you most of us in both of these chats had similar concerns or fears that they could leapfrog off of these acts of violence to juice their numbers up. My mind did go to the politics. I mean, I was horrified when Charlie Kirk was murdered. That was a horrifying thing to witness. And so...
No, it's funny. It's funny he says this, because I had a very... I was at work at the time when I heard it, and I had a very similar, like, knee-jerk reaction. Because I was watching Destiny at the time, and when that woman came on stream... I don't know if it's been confirmed who that is or not, but anyway, when that woman came on stream and like her immediate reaction to like the news and kind of what was going on was exactly my pretty much word for word my reaction. Oh my God, we are so fucked. Like, and who knows, maybe in a couple weeks it'll turn out we were right. Because... where's the news? Kai, did you send that to me over on Discord earlier? The news about Trump sending... yeah, here we go. Just a little brief side tangent. Hold on. Trump says he will send troops to Portland, Oregon in latest deployment to U.S. cities. Donald Trump said Saturday that he will send troops to Portland, Oregon, and this was as of 4 p.m. Pacific. That was less than an hour ago. Authorizing full force, if necessary, to handle domestic terrorists as he expands deployments into more American cities. Oregon Governor Tina Kotek responded by saying Trump is abusing his authority by ordering troops into a city that she says is doing just fine on its own. She was joined by other government, police, and business leaders who have all said soldiers are not needed and that Trump is presenting a patently false picture of the city. Later, Trump made his announcement on social media, writing that he was directing the Department of Defense. That's the Department of War. Thank you very much, dear leader. Said that it was the Department of War, AP News, to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland. Trump said a decision was necessary to protect U.S. immigration and customs enforcement facilities. Okay. I'm going to call it right now. I don't think that Trump knows where Portland is. Okay. Does he know that Portland is about as far away from the Mexican border as you could, like, possibly get outside of Alaska? Like, does he know that? The White House did not immediately respond to a request for details on Trump's announcement, such as a timeline for the deployment or what troops would be involved. No, he does not know what war ravaged means. Okay, so there's a video by a guy named Elephant Graveyard that did a couple of videos on Joe Rogan that were really interesting. And a couple, one of the really good points is that that he made about Joe, and I 100% believe this about Trump. Let's see if I can find this clip. Because it, like, perfectly... Oh, yeah, it's definitely the same thing. Definitely the same thing, for sure. I think it was in this one.
Beginning of the comedy pod, or do they float away to die in some astral plane? Oh,
definitely hated in Canada right now.
Oh, yeah.
The hockey game.
our lives.
Okay, so this guy right here, and I'm pretty sure it's in this video. I'm not going to waste y'all's time trying to find that clip, but if I do end up editing the VOD later, it'll be right here. Okay, thank you. So where he basically says that one of his big critiques of Joe is that he's a disaster tourist, right? Like, he believes that the situations, like, broadly, like, in LA, Portland, or whatever, are these war-torn, like, ravaged, fucking, like, hellscape, Blade Runner, like, type dystopias, right? Because this is all they see on Twitter and on social media, right? From these, these, like, disaster porn artists that go to these places, and put up all that content. And, like, that's what all these guys see. So, one, no, Trump doesn't know what war ravaged means. But, based on the context clues there, if he saw what is going on, like, what you see on social media of these places and, like, the worst parts of these places, I can understand why Trump would believe that. I can understand why a person that retarded would believe that.
So my first thoughts were not necessarily that, but they...
It was the cats and the dogs. God damn it. I love these clips. There.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
We're such a fucking joke. Wait, who won the last presidential election, I wonder? kill me.
They did go there eventually. Like, oh fuck, you know, what if they successfully make this guy a martyr? What if they convince a bunch of normies that Democrats want to murder everybody? You know, what if that means that next midterms are going to be like a red wave?
The fact that Gen Z made this into the song. Yeah. Oh my god, Kai. Link me, please.
You know, like we all have these thoughts, right? If you're paying attention to politics, it's kind of hard to avoid having those thoughts, right? But I mean, take a look at what happened when somebody tried to murder him. You know, bullet grazed his ear. And his numbers went up about like 2.5 points, and then...
This is how black-pilled I am. This is my new JFK conspiracy theory. I don't think that bullet touched him. I don't think that bullet touched him. Did you hear the song after Kirk? No, what? Hey, I need that for my Spotify. Link me.
They went back down within like 2 weeks. So I think what that goes to show you about Trump and his movement is that there is a hard fucking ceiling of support. There's a hard ceiling of support. Basically, no matter what, they're not going to get above like a certain point, you know? Wanting Bird with $5. Thoughts on the 2024 election lawsuits? Do you think there's any validity, or is it just blowing on nonsense? I'm totally out of the loop about whatever you're referring to. All I know is that American election systems are quite secure. There's multiple levels of...
So I know what Hutch is about to say here. Basically, you know, he's going to talk about how like there's multiple levels and layers that like ballots have to go through and processes that they have to go through. And there's so many people involved, so many hands touching so many different things that it's almost like impossible to like rig an election in that way. But there was a guy talking to Destiny on stream yesterday. I caught just a tiny little bit of it while I was at work. But I think the general premise here is that there are people out there that believe that the 2024 election was stolen. I don't know very much about the details or whatever, but it seems like these lawsuits, this is a slew of lawsuits both before and after the election. The Justice Department, no, this is Trump's shit. No, what is the... Okay. Is this what I'm... Kai, help me if I'm just like barking up the wrong tree here. Smart legislation and a nonpartisan watchdog group filed lawsuits over voting discrepancies in Rockland County, New York. Is that all this is? It's just like one county in New York? Is that all it is? Yeah, anything that says the DOJ suing over election shit. So is this one lawsuit? So is this one lawsuit about this one county? Kind of like a proof of concept lawsuit, or is this like all it is? Because from what I heard, what little bit I heard from that one guy yesterday, was it sounded like it was more than just this. Filed a lawsuit over claims of voting discrepancies in Rockland County, New York. At the heart of the alleged discrepancies are voting machines, which have often been the target of claims of irregularities, including when Donald Trump made unverified claims of widespread voter fraud in the 2020 election. This was the Smartmatic, the Dominion lawsuit that Fox News had to... they fired Tucker Carlson over this, and they had to pay the largest defamation settlement in history at was it 800 billion dollars? Yen. $1,000,000. I'm sorry. I was an entire order of magnitude off. Many orders of magnitude. Almost $1 billion. Erase the VOD. Don't clip that. That's still a fuck ton of money. That is but that is by definition the largest defamation settlement in history. And yeah, this is what they fired Tucker over. Oh, where's... Still almost fake. Yeah. Okay. Oh God, here we go. There's a Spotify link if I don't remember. So the first one is the Kirk one? Is the Kirk song? Or are they... Oh, this is the... Okay. Open link. Let's do it. Oh God, you made... Kai? You have... It was my fault. It was my fault. I should have known better. This is literally the first TikTok link that's ever been in my browser history. Okay? And it's your fault.
Eating the cats, eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, eat the cat, eat the cat, eat the cat, eat the cat, eat
This
the
is
cat,
fire.
Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, eat the cat. Eat the cat, eat the cat.
And ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there had been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
People on television.
Let me just say here, this is
The people on television said my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
But the
television.
people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the
said
city
the
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
Talk about extreme.
Fire. How many anthropologists 500 years from now, when they come across this and like on some like dusty old hard drive, how many of them are just gonna like hero mode when they find out that this clip came from a presidential debate? Unreal. Unreal. Those people on television with no names that are the most credible sources ever, not. Oh. Okay, let's get back to Hutch. I don't want to do the Kirk one on stream. So, just for the record.
Accountability. It's really hard to, that's why it's like really hard to rig elections in the United States. Because there's so many witnesses at every step of the process. So I'm not sure what you're referring to specifically, but
Yeah, so like I said before, that little tangent there, like the argument is like there's so much monitoring that goes on, but there's so much monitoring that goes on, so much like witnessing of things, so many levels. There's so many moving parts in this machine that it's almost like functionally impossible to like exert like top down voter fraud like that.
I would not buy a lot of stock in rigged election theories. Don't worry, Hutch, Trump will do it in 26. It's just difficult to imagine what Donald Trump could do to like rig elections. I think
So here's probably my biggest absolute absolutely my biggest nitpick, and I'll call it a nitpick because I mean it's really not like but my biggest nitpick with Hutch is, oh god, that face too. Ooh. But when they say, what could Trump do to rig elections, right? And I think there's a lack of imagination here, because the thing is, there is no world that we can progress from now where Trump needs to do that, or that it could ever be beneficial to him, right? The point is like, well, what if he can't rig elections? He doesn't need to. He doesn't need to do that anymore, right? He has the National Guard. He has the Marines. He has large swaths of the judiciary. He's gotten Congress at pretty much the worst gridlock that we've ever seen it in. Like, he's basically ground congressional action to a fucking halt. Like, this man single-handedly has destroyed every destroyed, hampered, or inhibited any way to challenge anything that he could do that isn't election rigging. Like, for example, he doesn't need to rig elections, right? You just need to control the people who get to vote, right? You need to harass people that you don't want voting into not voting, right? You don't have to fuck with the election process at all. This is exactly how Kim does it. This is exactly how Putin does it. This is exactly how Orban does it, right? So talking about, like, have you noticed every place that he's deployed the National Guard to has been for, one, an indefinite amount of time. Two, they're all Democrat-led cities, right? And also, they are Democratic-led cities in in very, very blue states. Unless Minnesota is a swing state. Kai can correct me on that. But the point here is to embed the National Guard and embed the army into these places. That way, by the time elections come around, these things... right, exactly. You get to who touches the machine, not the machine itself. Perfect way to put it. So, like, that way, by the time elections come around, like, this idea of soldiers patrolling the streets, bippers pleasing everybody that comes across them, right? They want this normalized by the time the election rolls around, so that when that happens around election time, one, it will discourage people from even showing up, right? Because even if they did want to vote, it's about like, it's just not worth the hassle, right? And two, the people that do show up and are like, I'm gonna do it anyway, right? I've got nothing to fear. I'm gonna, like, it holds these people up so much and backs up the line so much that it will necessarily limit the amount of people that will be able to vote, right? It'll create huge backups at polling stations, because polling stations close at a certain time, and if you're in line, if you're still in line when they close, you're fucked, right? Like, what was it the South dude did with in South Korea, right? Where in order to block a vote, all he had to do was lock the doors to the Capitol building, right? And just run out the clock. That's all they have to do. And I think that Hutch is doing one of two things here. One, he knows this, and but wants to reject it because it feels like doomer. It feels like farther than we are. Or two, he's just not thinking that Trump would think of that. Which I think it's pretty clear that we don't need Trump to think of that. All we need is for Pete Hegseth to think of that, or Stephen Miller to think of that, or Steve Bannon to think of that, right? Or Jesse Waters to think of that, right? Like, this idea that he won't do it because Trump won't think of it, it's like, it's silly.
What is the most likely outcome for 2026 is he sends in, like, the military to monitor, like, voting booths.
Okay, he gets there. All right.
But beyond that, it's just difficult to difficult to imagine how he could possibly rig it. I do think you're a little too trusting of authority. Wow, I mean, listen, I'm certainly not trustful of Trump. I mean, I think all of us kind of think he's going to send in the military to, you know, monitor polling stations. But what are they going to be able to, like, what are they going to accomplish by doing that? And
Well, let's see if he gets into it. But I just laid out two big things, two really big outcomes. That just having them there doing their job, even if they're not like actively like breaking the law or stopping people from voting or whatever, just like their mere presence alone, these are two ways that could severely hamper like running an election.
I remain so convinced, you guys, that if he were to do something like that, it would create, I don't know if this is the appropriate usage of this term, but I think it would create a Streisand effect. If Donald Trump, say, like he announces...
I don't think so. I don't agree with this at all. I love you, Hutch. You're my boy. But I don't agree with this at all. I think that anybody now... I think Hutch said it earlier in the video where he was like, they've reached like a critical mass of support, right? There's not really anybody that's like... that wasn't supporting them now that is going to support them. But the people that are currently supporting them, or that are still supporting them, I think are the ones that are impossible to turn away, right? Because these are the same people, right, that are listening to, they're reading Laura Loomer on Twitter. They're listening to Jesse Waters every night. They're hearing from like the Daily Wire or... you know, any of these people that will sweep, that will, you know, Megyn Kelly's another good example, that will twist it, you know, propagandize it however they need to, that it'll be, this is just a security measure to protect against like domestic terrorism from Antifa and the radical left, and all of these people will 100% be on board for that. Like this idea that a step like this would necessarily lead to a poor outcome for Trump. I don't know what exactly the fallacy is here, but I don't see how that logically follows, given the evidence that we have at hand.
It's 2 weeks or 3 weeks before an election that he's going to send in, you know, the military to like monitor polling stations in fucking Chicago and Dallas and San Francisco and Los Angeles and fucking, you know, whatever. I am so convinced that would...
Hey, that's me.
...would cause a massive backlash. And I think way more people would...
So when he says massive backlash, okay, what he means here is broadly from the electorate. But what is missing here is that it would be all from the left. And the same argument that he will use, he might use it at some point here, or if he's already used it, is, oh, actually he did, like, you're playing into their hands, right? The backlash that would come from something like that wouldn't come from MAGA. It wouldn't come from the Trumples. They would be cheering it. They would be celebrating it. They would be shouting it from the rooftops, Hutch. You know it. I don't think that there are nearly as many normies left that would call themselves Republican now as you do, right? And the thing is he already, like, this idea that that he has to be popular in order to get the shit done that he's needed to get done, right? Like, they'll talk about, well, they've been losing elections and they've been losing and they've been losing and they've been losing. Well, what have they been losing? They're more powerful now than they ever have. They have more influence now than they've ever had. They have more control over our judiciary than they've ever had, right? Like, when we looked at ourselves in 2016 and asked how bad could it get, I'm pretty sure that there was at least one guy out there publicly saying, yeah, this is what it's going to turn into. That saw all of this coming. Like,
show up to vote in that situation. That's
they will support this. They will be out helping the National Guard do this. The ICE will be deputizing these people that are willing to come out. And it will cause rioting. It will cause a backlash, as you say, right? Protesting and all of these things, which will be playing into that exact playbook that you were like, well, maybe we shouldn't let them manipulate us, right? And then they use those protests as justification to then do it more, right? So, but basically, like at a certain point, you have to choose when you're just gonna lay down, like just lay down and let them have it, right? Nobody wants to hear it, and nobody likes to say it, because we here in the West, well, I would say even the extreme West, probably only really here in America, and probably Canada. But by and large, we're very far removed from this idea of politically motivated violence as being part of politics. But it is part of politics. Almost everywhere else in the world, right? And when you look at where this type of body politic is employed, every single time when one side when one side rolls over and stops fighting, that does not stop the oppression from the other end. It just doesn't. Appeasement never works. It just doesn't. There is no, like, I've heard Destiny say this, and I'm gonna actually like adopt this talking point until he copyright claims me over it. But there is no virtue in unilateral disarmament. There is no moral good in being the ultimate sacrifice for no benefit. There is no moral virtue in that. Hell, political violence is part of American history. Like, I wonder what Hutch would say. I wonder what Hutch would say if California, Oregon, and Washington wanted to secede. I wonder. I do kind of wonder how he would play with that hypothetical, for one. And for two, does he think that the political violence that was enacted before and during the Civil War, if that was justified? And for what reason, yes or no? Just makes people feel like they are right to keep doing it. Well, so I'll put it like this. At a certain point, you are right. Somebody has to step up and say, look, I'm going to let this one go because I just want to chill. I just want everybody to calm the fuck down, right? So I'm going to eat this one, and we're going to be cool, right? You know, so that says, yeah, sure, whatever, right? The problem is that we've got one side that never wants to do that. That never wants to say, look, maybe we need to calm down. Right. In a world of constant escalation, right, if you accept that there is this infinite tit for tat thing, and you ask yourself which side of this equation is more likely to forego retaliation against some slight, and you should side your and you should ally yourself with that side, right? Because fundamentally, the thing here, in a world where either side could lower the temperature willingly, that side is not the right. And you're right, North. The reason that they keep doing it is because it feels like they are right to do it because of these grievances they've been told that they should have. Right?
That's just how like resist lib kind of voters, that's how they work, man. If you piss off the wine moms, they show up and they vote, bro. They do. I think that I'd have to look into it more, so I don't know if I should make this claim, but I think I remember reading something about how there have been instances where Republican states implemented voter ID laws and it actually backfired on them.
You know, Kai, do not let me end this stream. Do not let me end this stream without talking about this, because I think I've brought this up to you before, that I would really like to challenge Hutch on this particular framing, you bringing up the 50s and the 60s, is this idea that that people like Hutch will cling to, which is not a bad idea, that American history has shown that nonviolent political action is the most effective strategy, right? But I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding here that the only reason that was a fundamentally better strategy and an effective strategy was because there was an opposing strategy that could have been employed or could have been deployed that wasn't. Would the nonviolence from Martin Luther King be seen the same way in a world where Malcolm X doesn't exist, right? Where there is no potential of a more violent political action from some more fringe, more radical segment of the population, right? Or, you know, a particular political movement. And, you know, and conversely, right? Conversely, in a world where MLK didn't exist, right? Where his nonviolent struggle didn't exist, would Malcolm X have been as motivated to be as diplomatic as he was? You know? I mean, that could be stupid. That's fine. I haven't heard anybody tell me why it's stupid yet, but anybody's welcome to try. My point here is that, and I'm only using this framing because I can't think of a better one to people that might actually see this and engage with this. So if you're like some normie who's about to like holler at me in the comments about how this is fucking a gross comparison because it just doesn't work because X, Y, and Z reason, fuck off. I know, okay? But we can view Hutch and Destiny in this context in the same way that we would view MLK and Malcolm X, in that the more moderate, right, the nonviolent proponent, right, is allowed the optics strength and the flexibility to lean into what their strategy is because of the existence of the other. They're mutually beneficial to one another's goals, even if it might seem at first they are contradictory, and in some ways they are, but they have a synergistic relationship. They build each other, right? They strengthen each other, right? Because the people who would want to work with MLK would go, well, I want to work with MLK because MLK is less likely to murder me, right? Like when we say that we want, or we think that it is healthy for all politicians to have some semblance of fear. One second. To have some semblance of fear, what we mean is that we should have a particular outlook on things based on the job, not based on who we agree with. If that makes sense. I probably fucked that up. But did my camera pick up, Devin? I was watching something. I didn't have my stream monitoring up. Jesus Christ. Yeah, more voices are not a bad thing in and of themselves for sure. Yeah, and again, not just not a bad thing. I'll take the stronger position to say that they I think in some ways they benefit each other and they complement each other. So, but anyway,
because it pissed off the energized blue voters who showed up in larger numbers. It had the opposite intended effect. So if Donald Trump were to do something like that, I am so convinced that voter turnout would go up like 5 or 10%. Just look at
yes, people who show up might go up 5 or 10%, but the people who actually get to cast a ballot, there's no way for you to think that that would mean more people would actually be able to cast a ballot. Actually, hold on. Why do I keep doing this to myself? If you are in line when a voting place closes, do you get to vote? Huh. Okay, well, I was wrong about that. Delete the VOD. Clip that out. Cut it out. Anyway, but... okay, that was a dumb point. But I still think that making people wait in line, far more people are less to... Like, let's say you have, like, 8,000 voters. I think people like Hutch missed the point of why those two people are so effective for different reasons, and they weren't bad. It just... they had a different approach. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. But as far as like the voting, like let's say you had like a county that had like 8,000 voters, right? Let's just whatever. They have like a 8,000 vote. Actually, you know what? Let's say San Francisco, right? San Francisco is a city of almost 1 million people, right? Almost 1 million people. Let's say half of those are voting age, right? So that's 500,000. And you've got, say, 250, 300,000 people that typically vote in any given election, right? And on a normal year, normal process, normal things, you know, you'd be able to get through these 250,000 people in a regular 8-hour day, right? Now, if you're going to add even one extra step into that, right? Even if it's just stepping up, here's my ID, have a good day, and I go vote, right? Just like that one additional step there makes it take so much longer on the back end, right? It expounds upon itself. It grows. With each person, that time grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. And eventually, right, you're going to start reaching the point where people just aren't willing to wait. Even if they have the legal right to do so, they're just not, right? Because they're going to be in a position where it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I've been sitting here for 5 fucking hours. I'm just going to go home. I don't care anymore. That's the effect that this is going to have. Best case scenario, that's the effect that this is going to have. And we already had issues in many other elections about people being able to get in and vote in reasonable amounts of time. Like some people not even having it on their schedules, it not being a national holiday, right? People got to fit it around their work schedules. They might have to fit it into lunch breaks, right? So, like, this is... best, even like I said, even if you discount that dumb thing I said earlier, like this is best case scenario that this cuts the amount of people that are even going to be able to vote in half through one way or another.
Russian voting. The difference is that in the United States, as far as I'm aware, everywhere in the country, there's multiple layers of accountability where there are multiple witnesses. Like the system is designed to be very, very difficult to rig. You every once in a while you hear stories about like somebody, you know, who threw out like a fucking box of votes or something like that, but these people get caught like a lot when they try to do this stupid shit. He would postpone them due to some fake emergency or worse, a real war. He literally cannot. He has no power to do this. Like there's no way that he can. He literally cannot. He own them due to some fake like a lot when they try to do this stupid shit. He would postpone them due to some fake emergency or worse, a real war. He literally cannot. He has no.
Like he can't revoke birthright citizenship, Hutch?
No power to do this.
Like he has no power to label domestic interest groups as domestic terror groups? Hutch? Just like he has no power to deploy the United States military onto American soil in U.S. cities? Hutch?
Like there's no way that he can enforce this. He does not.
He can. He can. He makes a decree. He'll do what he always does. He makes a decree. Then he says, come and stop me. But in the meantime, until you make me, I'm going to do it anyway. That's what he's going to do. No super direct power, maybe. Yeah, there's no constitutional power for him to do this, to be clear. I agree with Hutch there. But acting like the Constitution is in any way a reasonable restraint on Trump right now it's delulu. It's honestly delusional.
Not have any constitutional authorities to just cancel elections. He just can't, you know. That's just not going to happen. That is one thing.
I will say this. If 2026 comes and goes, okay, Hutch, I hope you hear me, brother, okay? If you're right, okay, if you're right, in 2026 midterms come and go, with no issues, like what we've been talking about, I will shave my head, and I will trim my mustache just like you. Okay? And I will come on your stream, and I will apologize for ever doubting you. Okay? But I think I'm going to keep my hair. We'll see.
He might try, though. I legit don't even know what that would look like, because he just by what mechanism could he try to cancel elections? We don't cancel elections.
By what mechanism? The same mechanisms he's been using. Imperial fiat. That's what he's... Okay, what's the best case scenario, Hutch? Who's gonna stop him? That's what you have to ask yourself. Who's gonna stop him?
Elections when we're at war in the United States. Ukraine, you know, a country like Ukraine, they do postpone elections during war, but that's laid out in their constitution. Come on, Hutch, is constitutionality really an issue at this point? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
I mean...
Listen to me, okay? I understand the impulse to drift towards the black pill right now, but... And I can forgive a little bit of hyperbole, you know? That's fine, if it's just like a little bit of hyperbole.
Name for me... People said this was Star Wars, but we don't even need to vote. Look, I want you to name for me, okay? I'm willing to be wrong about this. I want you to name for me one thing, one single thing that has been predicted about Trump that has turned out to be hyperbole. One thing. Just one. I'll take it from chat right now. I'll retract it as soon as I get it. Name for me one thing that people have said so far that Trump would do that he didn't do.
But Donald Trump right now currently is operating under the constraints of the Constitution. Like, he is checking a lot of the guardrails for sure, but, you know, he still needs to go through Congress to get a bill passed. He still needs to go.
Does he really? How many EOs has he written so far? How many EOs has Trump signed? I just want a number. Just give me a fucking number. Oh my god. 207? $207 EOs? Is that a lot? How many EOs signed per... He doesn't need bills. He just threatens people or TV hosts or stadiums or lawyers or lawmakers or governors. He'll threaten anybody he wants. He fancies himself this like Tony Soprano type figure. It's so pathetic. It's just like I don't understand how anybody can see this and see it as anything but like this pathetic attempt by a sad old man to like feel like he didn't waste his life before it's over. Like, is this fucking Westworld to him? Like, holy fuck. So... Trump has signed more EOs than any president in modern history. The most, I would say. Like... He might end up with more EOs than anybody since Truman. I mean, he's almost there already. He's got, what, another 60 or so? And he tops Eisenhower? We're not even a year in, guys. We're not even a year in.
Go through Congress to get judges confirmed. The courts have checked him several times during this administration. He's had to back off a number of policies because the courts checked him. So
I would be interested to talk about these examples point by point with you, Hutch. I would be. Because I do agree with you in that the courts have checked him. But I'm pretty sure on damn near all of the ways that the courts have checked him, he's found a way to subvert that. Like with the flying people out despite Boasberg's order thing. I mean, that being like the first example that comes to mind. But I'd be willing to go through a few of these with you point by point. Sure.
The system is still intact right now. Very, very much intact. Delulu Hutch on today? I mean, you would just have to explain to me what it would even look like.
I don't think Hutch is delusional, to be clear. I really don't. I think what's happening with Hutch is what's happening with a lot of people. And it fundamentally, it comes from a good place. It comes from a really good place, I think, of one of a sense of idealism, right? Like, we don't want to be here, right? Like, this is, you know, we want to look at the world in the best way possible. Like I said, fundamentally, I do think it comes from a good place, right? But if you want to call me, you can call me cynical, you can call me black pill, whatever you want. I don't care. I just don't think that I just don't think it aligns as closely with reality as he thinks it does. So, but I don't think he's delusional.
Like, okay, he stands in front of a podium and says, I'm hereby canceling the elections, the 2026 midterms. What would that actually look like?
I'll tell you what it would look like. It would look like this.
I think
Is this the one?
Another men and women's sports thing. I think this is one of those, you know, they call them 80-20 issues. I call them 97-3. I think the Democrats better get smart. And, you know, politically, I hope they don't. But actually, in terms of love for the country, I hope they do, because it will be good to work together. So I'm thinking about, you know, when I have some slob like Pritzker criticizing us before we even go there, I made the statement that next year would be Chicago, because, as you all know, Chicago is a killing field right now. And they don't acknowledge it.
Killing field? Does he think it's Vietnam? Kill me.
And they say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying, maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense, and I'm a smart person. And when I see what's happening to our cities, and then you send in troops, instead of being praised, they're saying you're trying to take over the republic. These people are sick. But I'm really saying, and I say this to all of you, in a certain way, we should wait to be asked, because they have cities that are so under control, you know, out of control. So we go in and fix it. They take the full credit for it, and they go out and say, I heard it this morning.
That's not the one I was thinking of. Where is it?
And they say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying, maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense, and I'm a smart person. And they say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying, maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator.
Where's this I would be dictator on day one? Hold on.
Under no circumstances, you are promising America tonight, you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Whoo! Hoo-hoo-hoo! Do you guys remember what came out of his mouth right here? I wonder if James Comey remembers this. Remembers this moment with him on Fox News.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
what?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border, and I want to drill,
That's
drill,
not
drill.
that's not retribution.
I'm going to be, you know, he keeps, I love this guy. He says, you're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one. We're closing the border, and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator.
So that sounds to me like...
After that, I'm not a...
United Nations headquarters.
Shut up. I guess it's true.
People would be like, great, you can't do that. What if there's a red wave and they vote to make 3 legal terms again?
I can't do
Need
that.
A constitutional amendment to get rid of term limits.
I know.
And
I know.
there's no universe
Yeah, I know. That's what he meant. Yeah.
where that happens. Republicans would have such a good midterm performance in 2026 that they could change the Constitution. That is not going to happen.
Yeah, that won't happen.
Seen you address the people saying he could station ICE at key voting sites. Can I get your thoughts on what?
See, here's the thing. Here's the thing that I think that Hutch really fucking doesn't want to engage with, right? Because the fact that there is even one person in America that might see something like this and agree with it is so fucking abhorrent to him. Like, it is just this thought that this person exists is such an unpleasant, an unpleasant thing for him to think about, that he just doesn't, right? But when we talk about due process, right? If you get arrested, even if the cop does something wrong, you're still arrested until the state does something about it. And you realize that you can be held for 24 hours in most jurisdictions around the nation without being Mirandized. Well, that would never happen at a local level. People have forgotten that people like Joe Arpaio exist. You're right. It won't happen everywhere. It won't happen in most of the country, I would say. But all of the ways that this could go like catastrophically wrong in a way that it would be too late at that point. I guess to me, like, it shows a fundament. I think it shows like a fundamental, like, I don't know. I don't want to say anything like too terribly harsh here, but like, I don't know if it's like a failure of imagination or just not wanting to think about it.
What happened then? I don't know. That seems a bit extreme to me. I mean, even with all the extremeness we're seeing.
ICE could arrest U.S. citizens. Does Hutch realize that? I hope he does. They could arrest U.S. citizens. Hold them for 12 hours. Wait till the polling stations close. Then let them go. And then those people would have to sue the government. How do you think that's going to go, Hutch? These are not crazy conspiracy theories, guys. This is what we're trying to prevent. This is what we're trying to get rid of. We're trying to make sure that this doesn't happen. Because if we get to that point, it's already too late. There's not really anything that we can do about it at that point. And if there is something we can do about it at that point, it will be the one thing that people of your position have been saying is unacceptable in America. So we should give up. Or we fight however we need to. In the moment. Where's the fucking... Hold on. Where's the fucking Expanse clip of... Where is it? Of Amos talking about the churn. Oh shit.
Worried about what's gonna happen when they board you?
Amos is my fucking spirit animal. I love this man to death. I love him so much.
Because they will board you.
If that happens, you won't be around to see it. You think I won't space you?
Oh, I'm pretty sure you will. Won't change anything, though.
It'll make me feel better.
It's pretty
Paste.
clear you matter more than just me. I have dealt with these Mickey patrols before. I know a few tricks might help get us out of this jam.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Either way this plays out, you're dead. And I'm the one that's gonna bring you the good news. You're a loose end, not a person.
Just like I am.
Like water's wet, sky's up.
Must be nice. Have life all figured out like that?
That has nothing to do with me. We're just caught up in a churn is all.
I have no idea what you just said.
This boss I used to work for in Baltimore.
Okay. If you've never seen The Expanse, you totally fucking should. It's an amazing goddamn show.
He called it the churn. And the rules of the game change.
What game?
The only game. Survival. But the jungle tears itself down and builds itself into something new. Guys like you and me, we end up dead. Doesn't really mean anything. Or we happen to live through it. Well, that doesn't mean anything either.
If survival is the game, I can help us survive. So you tell your captain.
He's not our captain.
You tell who's ever in charge that I have valuable information. And Christ, I've had to pee for like 2 hours now.
I'll see you soon. Or we happen to live through it. Guys like you and me, we end up in Baltimore.
Here we go.
What you just said.
This boss I used to work for in Baltimore, he called it the churn. And the rules of the game change.
What game?
The only game.
Who is that? Is that the name of that actor? Elias Tufixis? I'm probably butchering that pronunciation. Is the guy's name? Or is this a different guy? Oh, you're talking about the other guy. Okay, I see. I get it. Okay. I really didn't even look. I would probably be very embarrassed when you tell me who that is. God, we gotta get through this video. Holy shit.
This administration, that seems pretty extreme. I mean, that would be, I mean, are we going into every blue city, first of all? I mean, like, are we just going into major cities?
We don't need to go into every blue city. I don't even need, or nor do we need to go into every major city. All we need to do is go into blue bastions within purple states. That's all he has to do. That's all he has to do. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, right? Illinois, North Carolina's coming because of the Charlotte stabbing. That's coming eventually. I promise.
Is he going to send them into rural areas? Like, you know, we do have federal laws regarding, like, voting in this country. I would have to look into the Voting Rights Act, but my brain immediately goes to questioning if he would even have the authority to do something. I mean, that would be such a huge effort to do that, you guys, for like every big city across the country. I don't know, guys. Like, I'm like, everything's kind of fucked right now, and it makes me very sad a lot of the times, but And I think it's correct to worry about the worst case scenario. I think it's fine to think about that, but I'm just not at the point where, you know, I'm going to spend all my waking hours thinking about the worst possible thing that Trump could do. I can't think.
See, I get that. I do. It's unhealthy. It absolutely is unhealthy. But the reason that everybody gets eaten at the end of The Boy Who Cried Wolf isn't because the boy was crying wolf. It was because the villagers didn't believe him when the wolf was finally real. And they all died.
Think of a more depressing and dispiriting practice. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, but I can guarantee you guys one thing. I promise you that this would happen, what I'm about to say. And I've said it before, but I promise you, I have never been so sure of anything in my life. I can promise you. And you guys tell me if you agree or disagree.
How many? Okay.
Agree. If Donald Trump tried some shenanigans,
And right now we know the wolf is real. We just don't believe he is hungry enough. Based and true. Fucking true. That's amazing. I'm stealing that. Nah, I'm not. I'm kidding. But that's good. That's a good one.
Around the time of the midterms. Well, let's take it a step further. Like, if Trump tried to cancel elections, which I really doubt. I have a hard time going that far with my worry about him. But if he really tried to do something like that, what I can promise you with 100% certainty is that it would provoke the largest protest movement the world has ever seen.
Okay. Here's the thing. If you have not been seeing how they have been rewriting January 6th and rewriting our language based on the verbiage that we use to try to prosecute January 6th, then you are delusional. The insistence on calling BLM an insurrection, the insistence on talking about seditious conspiracy amongst our lawmakers, right? These are meant to conflate things. That way, when they provoke a particular response, they have already primed their supporters to how they want it to be viewed. Yes, that protest will happen. And then one of two things will happen next. Either Trump will start shooting protesters, or he will declare martial law. Neither one of those things are good. You know that. If there is any other way it could possibly end that doesn't involve political violence, literal political violence, I'd love to hear it. I would love to hear your response to that.
That is not hyperbolic. I promise you, there would be
It'll happen. Okay? But I've got about 150,000 doll hairs up here. Your name on them, Hutch. That Trump uses the National Guard or the United States military to exert physical force onto polling locations in America, either during the campaign season or during voting day.
Billions of people in the street. Millions of people. Millions, okay? It would be bigger than No Kings. It would be bigger than the Women's March with the pussy hats. It would be bigger than the fucking March for
The pussy hats were dope, though.
Our Lives. It would be bigger than the summer of 2020 protests. It would eclipse all of those easily. Okay. This would go beyond protesting. I mean, this would go, something like that would go beyond protesting. It would be so...
To what, Hutch? What would it go to? What would it go to?
massive. The pussy hats were pretty funny. I agree.
Based. Yes.
20 bird with $2. You need 2/3 of the state legislatures to amend. They're not going to amend the Constitution. Quite frankly, neither party is going to be in a position to amend the Constitution for... I don't even know how long it's going to take. It's going to take a really long time before any party has that kind of mandate from voters to change the Constitution. Canceling elections is silly. It'd be far more effective and more likely to just change some voting rules or something to give you an edge.
Did I catch a little bit of this?
Problem with that is...
God, I don't remember this segment at all.
Is that the federal government is limited in what they can do to impact election systems at the state and local level. It is up to the states. The Constitution very clearly delegates authority to the states to...
Just like it delegates the power of the purse to Congress? Huh? Kill me.
Develop their own election systems. The Scorn one with $10. If on January 5th I told you he was sending fake electors to change the results and send a mob to delay the certification of the vote, you would be saying the same stuff you are saying right now. Absolutely not, by the way. I remember January 6th. I remember the lead up to January 6th. Everybody was saying this is going to be bad. Do you guys remember that? Everybody was saying that. I mean, when it happened, it was still shocking, but it wasn't necessarily surprising. Like, Donald Trump was blasting out to all of his followers, "Come to DC on January 6th, we'll be wild," he posted. It was telegraphed well in advance that something bad was going to happen that day. In fact, a lot of the discourse that happened immediately after January 6th was, how the fuck did the FBI not see this coming? When all of us were like, we all see what he's doing, right? Like, hello, I was black belt yesterday, but I'm good again. Don't be sad. I feel like everybody, it's your responsibility right now to actively make sure that you don't take the black pill. I feel like it's everybody's job to do that right now. You have to balance, you have to find a balance, but you don't have to do anything. I think you should find a balance between pragmatic concerns, rational worry or fear. You have to balance that with not, falling into an abyss of hopelessness.
See, here's the thing, okay? I agree with him. But the difference that we're talking about here is those pragmatic, practical fears and how existential they truly are. Because I agree with you. It is good. It is healthy for people to, log off sometimes, right? It is good to do that. There's so much fucking grass out there, okay? And it is begging for you to caress it, okay? With your fingies. Go touch grass. Go do it. But you can do that also at the same time as realizing how existential the problems that we're currently dealing with are, and be able to meet them with an appropriate level of conviction. You can do both. You should do both. But that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is, how bad is it? How bad is it really? That's what we're asking ourselves right now. Or that's the disagreement we're having.
I feel like that's like one of the best things that you can do if you want to effectively resist the current administration. You have to find a way to not give into the black pill stuff. Why? Look at it from Trump's perspective. Like, if you're Trump, right, and you're
okay, here we
mulling over
go.
in your mind possible ways to, you know, end democracy in America, wouldn't priority number one to be to utterly demoralize your opposition? Literally.
The problem is, I said this at the beginning. This is what I responded to at the
Priority
beginning.
number one. That's like the starting point. You want to basically beat your opposition into submission. And so I feel like his job, were he ever to do something like that in the future, he's definitely going to try to take some time in the run-up to that to depress the opposition. There's also an enormous incongruence between the online vibes and what is actually happening out there in the electorate. Like, the online vibes have been just abysmal for the last couple of weeks for sure. There's a really ugly chapter in American history with Kirk's murder, which was, you know, horrifying. Just on its own, just remove the politics. That's just like
It was horrifying. Very much so. And should never happen in America. Clip it.
horrifying. And then, you know, watching MAGA, they feel so emboldened right now to just get rid of, like, rights, you know? Tim Pool is just, like, a really good example of this. And there's a lot of this kind of vibe going around right now. Let me see if I can find it. Seth Dillon of the Babylon Bee, he tweeted, "I've been disappointed to see how many have been willing to abandon free speech, and not reluctantly but eagerly." I think he means
true.
And then Tim Pool responds with, "What would the left have to do or collectively support for you to opt not to defend them? Serious question. At what point do you say I won't help my enemies?" Which is just, you know, that's a very not so subtle way of saying, past a certain point, I don't believe that my enemies deserve rights. That's what he's saying. And he is
disgusting. Disgusting. I gotta get a soundboard.
In that view, this is a really
disgusting
kind of prevalent narrative or prevalent kind of sentiment that we're seeing in right-wing spaces after Kirk's murder. But again, I would just appeal to your logic in this spot. Put yourself in the shoes of a MAGA person. They're jumping all over this as aggressively as they can, because they have not had a great, like, few months. Like, Donald Trump it's not been great for them defending Donald Trump. If you think it's easy for them to just do this full-throated support for Donald Trump 24/7, I mean, for some people who have literally no principles and no...
I imagine it's pretty easy for Benny Johnson or Tim Pool. Well, actually, maybe not for Tim, because I think he cares too much what people think of him. But like Benny Johnson, no. Dave Rubin, no. Joe Rogan, no. They don't care. They don't give a shit. Absolutely not. Anybody in Trump's administration, they don't care. They absolutely just don't.
Scruples whatsoever. Maybe they sleep just fine at night, but they're exhausted. They were exhausted. I mean, just put yourself in their, like, literally put yourself in their shoes. Like, imagine having to defend Donald Trump over the Epstein stuff. Like, imagine, like, That would be tough. That would be tough for me. That would be tough for. I
What do you? Okay.
just wouldn't fucking.
But it would be tough for us because we have brains that work. Okay.
Defend it, to be honest with you. Tagarung with $5, lifelong optimist and former Republican here. If he tries to change the outcome of the election again, we are way past protesting. If he tries
Oh shit!
to
I get.
unilateral.
Hold on. I think I lied. I think I did catch a little bit of this, like just a few minutes of this while I was on. While I was on break at work. I may have lied. Because there might be a message from me here coming up. I don't remember. That was a busy fucking day.
Literally just say, it's like, hang on. Let's just try to game this out, okay? If he says we're canceling elections, I don't think his base is enough to withstand that kind of pressure.
Anybody who thinks that this whole, the Second Amendment is so that we can protect ourselves against a tyrannical government, like, is even anywhere applicable in 2025. Do you think anybody's gonna give a shit about your like AR-15 long rifle mod when they can just predator drone you from fucking space and kill like 20 of you at the same time? Jesus Christ. Anybody who thinks that, like, just no. Depends on how far they're willing to go, honestly. But whatever.
If he tried to literally cancel elections, now, this is alarming, right? But what percentage of the country would go along with something like that?
30%, 40%. I'd give it 30% at least. The floor is 30%. And that's not counting all the law enforcement he has, the U.S. military. And we're not even talking about the vigilantes. Come on now. Hutch. This is 30% of the country. I wonder if you would agree with that. If you think 30% of the country would go along with him doing this.
20%? Like maybe 20%? It would be...
It's over 30, buddy.
It would be a massively, massively unpopular move. Here's another thing to consider here. I didn't really anticipate opening up the stream with trying to combat the black pill, but here we are. Here's another thing that I think is really important, okay? When we look at people like Mussolini and Hitler and Pol Pot, a big part of the reason they were able to basically take over the government, consolidate power, is because they were actually delivering something for the people. With Germany, it was getting out of like a crippling economy. It was delivering better material conditions for not everybody in Germany, obviously, but for Germany. Donald Trump is not doing that right now. The economy is doing worse now that he's come to power and he's been sitting in the White House for the last 9 months.
So here's the thing. I see where he's going here, but the thing that I think that if Trump were smart, he wouldn't be doing the tariff shit, but he would be doing everything else. He would be doing everything else. The tariff thing is his, like, I'm big boy businessman type shit. Like him thinking that he's actually good at business, him wanting to do the one thing that he's supposedly fucking famous for. Like this is his, like, the tariff thing is his, like, ego trip. Is what it is. But like if he had two brain cells to rub together, he 100% would be doing everything that he's doing and just not the tariff shit. Period. And then what he gets to do is he gets to take everything that Biden did between, like, the Infrastructure Act and the CHIPS Act and all of these other things, right? And riding this big economic wave that Biden gave him and being like, Yeah, that's the Trump economy, baby. But no, he's too narcissistic, too egotistical. He's too stupid to realize that. So part of the reason that I think this example could work is because Trump's just not smart. He's not smart enough to do those things. But he could have, or at least that's the narrative he could have told everyone.
Hutch needs to do an 8-hour stream of just reacting to Fox News and then try to tell us how MAGA feels. They aren't feeling bad about anything. They're winning and want more blood. They're winning, like, they won in November, if that's what you mean, but they're not winning right now.
It depends on what you mean by winning. If winning means winning elections, then no, they're not. But if winning means getting what I want, 1,000,000% they're winning. 1,000,000% they're winning. Come on, man.
This is a weakened president. He's weakened politically.
Physically, maybe.
He's lost a lot of support. He's cratered with independents. I don't even think they think they're winning. I think they're trying to project that they're winning. Though the numbers tell a totally different story. It's naive to think that they won't do their best to try to rig an election. Literally already
The sparklers.
Donald Trump tried after the fact to concoct like a fake elector scheme, but either motivated out of principled support for liberal democracy or motivated by a desire to not, you know, be convicted of felonies. We did not see, I mean, we saw state officials in, you know, red Georgia refuse to go along with what Trump was saying. There's a lot of legal exposure if you try to fucking rig an election.
There's only legal exposure if you can be held accountable criminally for your actions, which you can't because of Trump v. United States. He can come right out and say, hey, Attorney General Pam Bondi, I want you to do something that is illegal. And you can't even look at that in determining whether or not he did something wrong. Come on, man. Like, you're talking about like him not wanting to be like liable in any kind of way, but we're now in a world where Trump can't be held liable for anything he does. He has no reason to play ball with anyone, which is why he hasn't. That's why the government's going to shut down. He's not going to care. He's a sad, pathetic old man trying to hold on to whatever little power he can. The problem is he's got the rest of us held hostage in it.
In the United States. Did you see CNN's polls? Are you talking about Harry Anton talking about like Democratic Party stuff? I did see that, yeah. Not ideal, but what we're seeing in actual special elections are telling a pretty clear story right now. I think the most likely outcome in either...
Well, also, we can't forget that Democrats are typically favored and more highly represented in special elections, like in like off mainstream elections. That's just, as I understand it, been the case since the modern like polling infrastructure began. Like Republicans tend to do good in like midterms presidential elections, right? But they don't tend to perform as well in down ballot races, and they don't tend to perform as well during like special elections or oddly timed elections, stuff like that. Local elections, well, maybe not local elections. That's probably silly, but
2026 and 2028 is a rerun of January 6th, meaning a simple refusal to accept results they don't like. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, you know that 1,000%. Like Donald Trump.
He did it once, he'll do it again. He did it once, he'll do it again.
I think the most likely situation, I agree with you. I think that we're going to have midterms. The Democrats are probably going to have a good night. We're going to take the House back. And Donald Trump is going to complain that it was all rigged. But at the end of the day, come January 2027, they're going to be sworn in. and the new Congress will convene and elect a new House Speaker, and we'll be off to the races of a lame duck presidency for the next 2 years. Or for.
See, look at this guy. Look at this guy. This guy. I was right. I did catch a few minutes of this. I lied. I'm sorry. I'm such a shitty person. But yes, he does not have to suspend elections. Hutch. J6 2.0 will work. Because it's not a whole bunch of fucking gravy seals from nowhere fucking Nebraska who brought their fucking grandpa's Mosin Nagant. Like, he has the military to do it for him this time. The Reichstag fire is coming. Like I said, I have an entire head of hair that hopes you are wrong. Or hopes I am wrong. Hopes you are right.
For the following 2 years. He doesn't have to suspend elections. Such January 6 2.0 will work this time? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Really doubt it. I don't think he has the kind of support that he would need to do something like that. Okay, this stuff is all very doomer. Yeah,
Nuh-uh, bruh. Okay.
That's why, honestly, that's why I needed to take a couple days just to play fucking Borderlands. I was so fucking bummed yesterday. Yesterday, coming out of the trenches in World War I just had that fucking stare because black pill stuff right now, which is semi-common, but I feel like it kind of reached a new plateau in the last couple weeks. It seems like the black pill has...
I wonder if this has anything to do with it, Hutch. I wonder if this has anything to do with it. Haha, I did the thing. I made it my fucking self. Since I couldn't find it. That's why I'm the greatest. See? I'm not going to let anybody forget it. Here's somebody who can call the president at any time. The left, national security threat. Let's see what that gross Hutch said. Oh, wow. What a toxic statement he's making. Damn. Why would you poke at him so hard, Hutch?
Infected more minds in the last couple of weeks. And I think after interacting with so many people who are expressing hopelessness, it just made me fucking sad. And so yesterday I just played fucking Borderlands all day. It's fucking great. Borderlands is fucking great. When he did January 6th the first time, his numbers dropped to the lowest point they ever got. He was down in the fucking 30s. He was down to like 35 after January 6th. It still to this day is a very unpopular event, you know? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, the MAGA support, we just need to understand that there's a certain percentage of our country that are comfortable with a dictator. And that is deeply unsettling. I understand. I mean, that's unsettling to me. When I see Stephen Miller making his speech where he's, like, screaming essentially at people like me and you, saying, you are nothing. You produce nothing. What was the fucking... Hold on, let me show you the... Now, this was blackpilling, if you want to... I saw this, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. This is dark. This is very dark.
Yeah, watch this shit. Watch this for anybody that might come across this, right? I want to keep it context. I did. I saw it. I responded. This is at a funeral. Don't forget it. This was supposed to be at a funeral. This is ostensibly at a funeral.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Babe. That's so good.
Okay. I didn't realize that's what it was. We will. Here it is. All right. That works too. Yeah.
That's so fucking good.
I'd say that's fitting.
We'll defeat the dark. We will prevail over the forces of wickedness and evil. They cannot imagine what they have awakened.
He's talking about like normie Democrats, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just talking about like Antifa. He's talking about normie Democrats.
I'm sorry, Hutch. You got it wrong. It's trans Tifa now, okay?
He's talking about you. He's talking about me. You know.
They cannot conceive of the army that they have arisen in all of us. Because we stand for what is good, what is virtuous, what is noble. And to those trying to incite violence against us, those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have nothing.
You have nothing.
You know, I got a partner. I mean, first of all, I'm not gonna.
He doesn't care, Hutch. He doesn't care.
Against him, but when he says this, you know.
Sorry.
He's not just talking about the people that foment violence. He's talking about everybody. He's talking about everybody on the left. That's what they're saying. It wasn't some guy who chilled Carly Kirk. My goodness, who killed Charlie Kirk. It was the entire left-wing movement in this country. It was the entire Democratic Party broadly. We are all collective, according to him, collectively responsible for his murder.
Yep.
Those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have nothing. You are nothing. You are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are hatred. You are nothing. You can build nothing. You can produce nothing.
I mean,
Damn.
Friends, you know.
First of all, Hutch. Again, he doesn't care. Second, damn. Pour one out for Goebbels. Yes. Yes.
Hung out with some friends this weekend. I have family. I have cats. I built a business. I produce stuff. You know, most days of the week. Like I'm doing, you know.
No, Hutch, you don't make enough widgets in a sweatshop. That's the only production that matters.
I have an okay life. Like I have things, you know.
You can create nothing. We are the ones who build.
It's in the name. Content creator, okay?
True.
That's what I do for a living.
True.
We are the ones who create. We are the ones who lift up humanity. You thought you could kill Charlie Kirk? You have made him immortal. You have immortalized Charlie Kirk.
So somebody earlier brought this up to me. And I thought it would be interesting to look into. I was pointed to this story, or like this talking point, but I came to this Substack about Horst Wessel. And it's a short read, and I wonder if now might be a good time to read it. Give us a good place to start when we're on our next research trip. Horst Wessel was not a man of virtue. He was a devoted member of the SA, the paramilitary wing of the Nazi Party, and embraced the hatred that fueled their rise. Born in 1907, he fell into the violent, radical politics of Weimar Germany as a young man. He rejected moderation, joined the Brown Shirts, and became a street fighter for Adolf Hitler's movement. He marched with men who targeted Jews, communists, and anyone seen as standing in the way of Nazi ideology. His life was not one of honor or service, but of advancing hate. In 1930, Wessel was shot and later died of his injuries. His death might have remained a small footnote in the chaos of Berlin, the result of a personal dispute with a communist opponent. Instead, Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda chief, seized on Wessel's death and transformed it into myth. He recast Wessel as a martyr who had given his life for the Nazi cause. Goebbels needed symbols to mobilize the masses, and Wessel's murder became the raw material for a story of sacrifice and loyalty to Hitler. Wessel had written a song, a marching anthem that glorified the fight for the Nazi movement. After his death, that song was renamed in his honor and became known as the Horst Wessel Lied. The Nazis elevated it into their official anthem played at rallies, funerals, and state occasions. It became a weapon of influence. Ordinary Germans heard it and were taught to connect their own struggles with Wessel's supposed sacrifice. The story drowned out the truth of who Wessel really was and what he believed. His anti-Semitic outlook and violent politics were erased in favor of a manufactured legend of purity and devotion. The parallels, yeah, I know, it's crazy. This is how propaganda works. It takes a flawed and misguided figure, strips away reality, and presents a cleaned-up image that people are urged to rally around. The Nazis built an entire myth around Horst Wessel, using his life and death as a rallying cry for tyranny. They knew that people were drawn to stories of martyrs, heroes, and those who have appeared to have died for a cause. They exploited that instinct to bind people to their movement. The lesson is simple. Symbols are powerful, and once they take root, they are hard to pull out. History shows us how easily truth can be buried beneath myth. We need to stay alert to the figures put before us today as models of patriotism and moral strength. The wrong symbol, elevated and repeated, can move a nation in a dangerous direction. We cannot allow ourselves to be misled by the stories written for us by those in power. We must question who is glorified, why their story is being told, and what purpose it serves. Wessel's story is not just history, it is a warning. Thank you, Mitch Jackson, Esquire. Come subscribe to his Substack. Seems like he writes some good shit.
And now millions will carry on his legacy.
Everything you've heard. Imagine they're talking about a literal brown shirt.
It's actually really hard in a moment like this for any country. It's actually really hard to console.
Pretty sure Horst Wessel was killed at a bar fight. He was shot in the head at a bar fight. It just so happened that the person who shot him was communist. That was the one bit that lined up just enough for Goebbels to be able to weave the narrative that he did.
Grieving nation to heal divisions, to unite in a time when things are very much polarized, and yet it is the correct and more
Horst Wessel, the Nazi guy we just read about. The guy that Goebbels lionized and used as part of the propaganda movement in Nazi Germany. Did die. Okay, well, maybe I was wrong about that. Interesting. Well, see, I was understood that it was a personal dispute. Around 10 p.m. on 14 January. Look at the door. These are the KPD. These are the communists. When Wessel, who was expecting a visit from a friend, one of the SA Sturm group, opened the door, he was shot almost immediately, shot at point-blank range. Although it was later claimed that Wessel had attempted to draw a gun, he had also been shot in self-defense. This was denied by eyewitnesses. Wow! I should read. I should read more. You guys see this? See this part? Even as Wessel was lying seriously wounded in hospital, Goebbels was already releasing reports asserting that those who had carried out the attack were degenerate communist subhumans. While he was still in the hospital, before these people were ever found, I mean, we'll find out if they were found, but they were quickly arrested. But this was before they were ever found. Following Following his death, the National Socialists and the Communists offered different accounts of events. The police, led by Chief Inspector Treichmann, and several courts determined the both political and private reasons that had led to Wessel's assassination. By 17 January, the police had announced that Holler, whom Janik had identified as the gunman, was their prime suspect. It was then reported by a non-Nazi and non-communist newspaper that Jacques had known Holler prior to the murder because Wessel had used her to spy on those of her former clients who were communists. The communists claimed that Holler had been Jacques' pimp until Wessel stole her from him, and that this was the motive behind the shooting. Janik denied these stories, saying that she had never been a spy for Wessel, and that she only knew Holler only as an acquaintance from the streets. So yeah. Weird guy does it for mostly personal reasons. Oh, and don't forget this part. 3 years later, after the Nazis ascended to national power in 1933, Holler was taken out of prison under false pretenses by the Gestapo and Rudolf Diels and members of the SA and was illegally executed.
Morally good thing for any leader to do, and it is it's also an opportunity for the worst actors to exploit people's anger and grief. And like,
how far
I
are we through
grieved
this?
after
Most of the way?
Charlie Kirk died, but not necessarily for him. I didn't really respect that man or what he stood for, but the grief that I felt was like kind of like, this is gonna sound kind of cringe, and I'm a little bit older, and so I think about things differently. I literally grieved for my fucking country. That's where I was coming from. I was sad because
Based. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what you should have. Even when somebody like Kirk dies, what you should be doing is you should be feeling be grieving for America, because that means something has gone wrong here. Something that needs to be fixed. Like, the fact that this happened to anyone at all, regardless of who it is something that must be dealt with in a way that is swift and effective. That's just true. If you have any other reaction to it, then there's something wrong with you.
because I knew that they were going to do this. They keep saying, like, you have no...
And to be clear, just want to make sure I'm abundantly clear, that doesn't mean that the solution is this, is to just give up. Because if we give up, the killing, one, is not going to stop. And even if it does stop, what comes after is going to be way worse.
No idea what's coming. It's like, what?
That's why when people criticize, like, Ukraine's actions in the war, right? When we talk about wanting peace, it's not just about stopping the killing. It's not just about stopping the bloodshed. It's about that we want a just end to the conflict. That's what we're fighting for, is a just end, not just any end. Because if that's all you're fighting for, then why would you do anything other than surrender? If it's just any end that is your goal, then surrender is the easiest path to that. We want a just peace. We want a just resolution to the conflict.
Well, we kind of do, you know. I feel like this was very predictable, you know. You have no idea what you've awakened in this country. And you have no...
I wonder if when Stephen Miller practices these speeches in the mirror every day, is he naked while he does it? If I put up a bet on Polymarket, do you think people would actually bet on it?
idea what comes next. It's like, kind of, you know, we kind of know. Like, who didn't know that you guys were gonna fucking fully lose your shit after this?
Oh, by the way, this is hilarious. I just learned about this. Wonder if anybody here has. Trump says if released, he swear to God this happened. Where is it? Oh, fuck me. Let's see. Where is it? Where's the quote? Where is it? Where is it? Was I baited? I think I was baited. Fuck. I know I saw the shit somewhere. Somebody shared it. God damn it. Oh God, Ken Klippenstein. I'm so sorry to my good friend. Okay, Robot Bird, if you ever watch this, I love you to death, brother. But please, you need to be careful with Klippenstein, okay? What is this? Oh God, what fresh hell. Called the National Security Presidential Memorandum 7. It's being referred to as SPMN or NSPM 7. This is the first time in American history that there is an all-of-government effort to dismantle left-wing terrorism. Trump's Homeland Security Advisor Joseph Goebbels said, referring to the issuance. To the extent that the major media noticed in the directive at all, they incorrectly labeled it an executive order. What is this? Oh, this is the countering domestic terrorism thing that we already read. Okay. Okay, this is just a Klippenstein article on it. All right. I was very scared there for a second. We got to get through this video, though.
And try to use it to cynically exploit your supporters and promote division in the country and use this event to launch draconian measures against your perceived enemies. I mean, everybody knew you were going to do this. It's not like you're throwing a curveball here, you know, like this is all pretty predictable.
We will devote the rest of our lives to finishing the causes for which Charlie gave his last measure of devotion. You cannot defeat us, you cannot slow us, you cannot stop us, you cannot...
People don't realize how big Charlie was. I think that was true in the beginning, you know.
I think that Charlie was as big as he ever was. This idea that, like, even normies knew about Charlie Kirk.
I definitely had that thought, like, when we were in the first, like, week. I knew that this was, you know, people were saying we need to compare this to Martin Luther King and John F. Kennedy. And I feel like most people in my orbit dismissed that as kind of ridiculous, but to be honest with you, I kind of agree. Not because Charlie Kirk was, you know, comparable to Martin Luther King or JFK, but I kind of agree in terms of the significance. Because he did mean a lot to a lot of people. For millions of people, he was their introduction into politics. A lot of young people, a lot of young men, not just men, but for a lot of people, he was the guy that got them interested in politics. They looked to him to set an example.
Yeah, no, he's 1,000,000% right with this. so many of the people that like followed him around, so many people of the so many of the people that consumed his content, that came out to his shows or his events and all of these things, they very much saw Charlie as more than just like a media figure. Like they saw him as a role model. um and I think that's a very different type of like parasocial relationship than like say you might have with like your favorite streamer, right?
And they saw him as he was a very significant guy, very significant guy. We saw massive movements, thousands of people in the streets across multiple countries. So his influence was not even limited to the United States. Put aside
this is one of the things that I'm constantly conflicted when I want to talk to Charlie Kirk defenders is they're going to come from either one of two camps. They're either going to come from one of he was a good guy because he defended free speech regardless of what else he was actually defending, or to the whitewashing that we were kind of talking about earlier, that we ought to like be more careful with the criticism we levy. I think you should just talk about people how they were. They're gonna hate you either way.
Whether you think he deserves that kind of credit or adulation.
But here's the thing. One thing that I here's where I struggle. This is my official position. I think Charlie Kirk was an amazing organizer. He was an incredible speaker. I think he was very smart. I think he was very intelligent. I think he was very driven. And these are all virtues that one can have. But as much as I recognize that about him, the things that he were fighting for are things that I would be vehemently opposed to.
Is that the word? What is that? Adulation. Obsequious flattery. Excessive.
I love it when Hutch goes to look up a word he doesn't know and then reads the definition that includes another word he probably doesn't know. I love it when he does that. It's incredible.
Admiration or praise. Set aside if you think he was worthy of that kind of adulation and praise, worship. Your opinion about whether or not he deserves it doesn't really matter. He was tremendously influential. He also represented a new kind of like tip of the spear.
That's true. He did.
In online media, which is still pretty new. You guys understand that? Social media and alternative media and grassroots political movements that are driven by social media, that's still a very new concept. Adoration is another, reverence. And he represented quite literally the tip of the spear for that kind of engagement in politics. That's why he was so important to a lot of people. In many ways, and this is just a neutral statement, in many ways he was a fucking trailblazer. He sort of set a template for other people to emulate.
He did. You can't deny that. He did.
Not just right-wingers. I'm not trying to gas him up in terms of all of that, but even if you didn't like Charlie Kirk, you can't deny that he was very, very innovative, also well-funded. If you give anybody tens of millions of dollars, you give the right people that kind of funding, and I'm sure a lot of people could have done what he did, but he was a really, really important guy to a lot of people. And so I certainly was saying that, like the first couple days I was saying, like, I think this is a big deal. I think this is a really, really big deal. Can you please explain your optimism here? You say people are too black-pilled, midterms will be just back to normal for all. Then say killing Kirk equals MLK and framing politics for the next gen. I don't even call it optimism. I think it's pragmatic. I think that
You see, here's the thing. I think this is a cope right here. I love you, Hutch. You're my boy, but I think this is a cope right here. Because the pragmatic dealing with things sensibly and realistically in a way that is based on practical rather than theoretical considerations. Well, I personally believe the more pragmatic way to look at it is look at what Trump has done, look at what Trump has promised to do, look at what he's gotten away with, and that is what we should go by in order to predict his future behavior and what he might get away with in the future. Right? I think that the pragmatic way to look at it is to see where the trend line it has been in order to gauge where it's going to go and how we ought to respond to where the puck will be instead of where we want it to be. But that's okay.
The way that I'm looking at things right now is pretty realistic. Trump just doesn't have any kind of mechanism to stop the midterms. It's going to be, and it's really difficult to rig midterms.
He doesn't have to stop them. He doesn't have to rig them. He just has to break them enough. That's all he has to do.
They might try to put up obstacles, but our election systems in the United States are very, very, very good. We have very good election systems. They are...
Doesn't even need to engage with the election systems. This is just putting National Guard places. That's it. That's all this is. I'm sending the National Guard here. That's all this is. Doesn't matter. Nothing else. Nothing else. Like the hindrance of anything else matters here. Is that this is what he will do.
Specifically engineered to make it nearly impossible to rig. There's so many layers. There's so many levels of, like, you know, this person sends it to that person sends it to that person, and at every level there's like witnesses there. There's a lot of legal exposure to trying to rig elections, and you know, if you don't want to believe that right-wingers in red states really do want to do the right thing and execute on an election, like a safe election or an accurate election, then you should fall back on people not wanting to go to jail for this kind of... And people go to jail all the time for the smallest levels of shenanigans.
He pardoned all of the J6ers. And he only needed to pardon them because he wasn't there to stop the DOJ from charging them in the first place. These people will do this. And the DOJ will demand that their cases be dropped because of it. They'll never even be convicted. Is the difference.
You know, you read about like some Republican official in North Carolina who like threw a box of votes into a creek or something like that and then went to jail, you know. Not a small thing. So, you know, here's what I will say is, like, if we get to the midterms and all of a sudden we see dozens or hundreds of Republican state officials across a bunch of red states actually just fucking step over that line and full on try to rig the election, here's what I'll say to that. That at that point, I think you get to say, like, take the black pill, it's the only pill. Because at that point, what they're
what Hutch is doing here is he is essentially setting a bar that the other team doesn't need to ever meet to achieve the outcome that the black pill is worried about.
Signaling is that they have full confidence that Donald Trump is never going to leave, that the Republicans are never going to give power to the Democrats. Because if they did,
the Republicans will never willingly give up power to a Democrat again. Not on a national level. Won't happen.
They would go to jail.
We will carry Charlie and Erica in our heart every single day and fight that much harder because of what you did to us. You have no idea. The dragon you have awakened. You have no idea.
I think we have a pretty good sense.
How determined we will
Damn, Garbles is cooking, ain't he?
be to save this civilization, to save the West, to save...
You know what I always find creepy about him is how dead his eyes always look. Have you noticed that? Whenever he's speaking, he just has the most, like, dead expression. Like he's one of the androids from Alien Earth. Like he's Kirsch or something. Like, watch.
This republic.
He's just so dead-eyed.
Goodness. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the best scene in the entire sequel trilogy of Star Wars. The
Oh,
General
God.
Hux speech that he gives right before they fucking wipe out that entire like solar system.
Oh yeah, that one. That was good.
That was so.
Hold on. Actually, true. Actually, Kirsch did have more true. Here we go.
Today is the end of the Republic. The end of a regime that acquiesces to disorder. At this very moment, in a system far from here, the new Republic lies to the galaxy, while secretly
The Democrats lie to America.
supporting the treachery of the loathsome resistance.
Of the gruesome left.
This fierce machine which you have built, upon which we stand, will bring an end to the Senate, to their cherished fleet. All remaining systems will bow to the First Order, and
We'll bow to MAGA.
will remember this as the last day of the Republic.
That's the one. Yes, there we go. Thank you, Herr Miller. I appreciate it.
So fucking hard. He went so hard in that scene.
I don't remember a lot of it either. That's why I had to look it up.
That was literally the best scene in the entire sequel trilogy. And then they turned his character into a fucking ridiculous meme. God, what wasted. That's what the sequel trilogy is, man. It's just fucking wasted potential. Kylo Ren's character was fucking awesome. He was for sure the best part of the sequel trilogy, I think. And then they fucking ruined him in the third movie. They ruined him. Rise of Skywalker, I was so angry watching that movie. I was so angry because it was obvious like right away in the movie. It was like JJ, he might as well have called it, you know, Star Wars Episode 9. You know, we're sorry about Episode 8. That's what that's
True. True. That's so good. No, he did. Adam Driver was incredible. Anywho, yeah, so good.
That's what it should have been. It was just an apology for nothing that and they had nothing to apologize for. Episode 8 was fucking great, man. I saw that movie on opening night in a packed theater, and the crowd that I saw it with went fucking nuts. They went nuts. They went nuts when fucking Princess Leia flew through space. They went nuts when
True.
maneuver.
True.
They did nuts when fucking Kylo Ren and Rey did the back-to-back.
Fucking
fighting those dudes.
true.
Nuts. I remember the auditorium or the theater that I saw that movie in gasped. They gasped. That's a hard word to say. Gasped. There were multiple audible gasps throughout
Episode
the theater
8.
when the sound, like in the Holdo maneuver when she
Based. Episode 8. Haters are cringe. It's a good movie. There is a lot in that movie that is good.
and just light speed through the fucking Imperial fleet or whatever. They're not the Empire. What do they call it? The First Order fleet. When she did that, and then everything gets quiet in the theater because you're in space and you can't hear anything in space. When that happened, fucking 36 people in the theater were like, sorry, I don't mean to hijacking stream to talk about Star Wars. I shouldn't have done that. But then there's an interesting kind of nerd. I love like the Star Wars nerd discourse. I got this from Connor Points. I didn't know that there was so much controversy about the Holdo maneuver until I talked to Connor Points about it, and he explained it. I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense, because it's like, how come nobody else has done this before? How come nobody else used
Well, there we go. There is the Hutch video. Thank you for holding out and tolerating this with me. I appreciate it. The only good thing about episode 9 was, for me, was seeing Dennis Lawson one more time. True! Let's see. Whatever. I don't care anymore. I am gonna go... Actually, is there a thing happening? Because if there's a thing happening, I might be going. If not, I'm gonna play some Magic. Stop! Oh, there's a thing. Shit. Okay. Well, I think I'm gonna go. I'm trying to think of something that I can go watch to basically cleanse my mind of this. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go watch some Rent a Girlfriend to cheer me up. Thanks. Be safe. Don't die.